Okay. So we're going to do this podcast thing.
Whoa, what is happening?
What'd you do?
Sorry, my computer was just like, hey, I need to break everything that's happening right now.
Well, you know, technology and the interweb and all that shit, like...
It's wonderful.
It works amazingly, right?
Yeah, right. I love technology when it works because, third world problems and all. But...
Well, they are very frustrating. Look, my keyboard at work wasn't connecting to my computer. I don't know. It's the weirdest damn thing. The computer works fine. The mouse works fine. I go and turn my computer on. The keyboard's not working. I go and steal somebody else's keyboard thinking it's the keyboard broken. That keyboard doesn't work. So I've never heard of a computer just not wanting to recognize a keyboard. It's like I can do everything else, but this whole typing thing is stupid. So, my little temperamental ass broke my keyboard. I slammed it down on the desk.
Oh, you did?
So it's not broke, but you know how you have the little legs on it that prop it, like angled it just right for you to type easier? Huh. I just ruined it for myself because I slammed it down, broke one of those little legs because I'm a toddler, and, and now I'm having to type all weird.
Look, I've been to the Goodwill so many times I couldn't even count. And I look at everything that they have there. And so many times I see like keyboards and I'm like, ooh, that'd be a good replacement for whatever I've got going on. And there's always one leg that's broken off. And I never knew. How does this always keep happening? I think
I can tell you. Somebody is super pissy and they just take it out on those little I've broken phones before. Like, not at my current job.
That's a good thing. Not yet, at least.
No, but I did do it at another job, and nobody knew it was me because I was by myself. And then later, the manager was like, who broke the phone in the break room? I want to know. And I'm that is so weird.
Who did that, guys?
But I have tantrums and I banged the receiver. I don't know which one it is. Whatever, the part you talk into.
Yeah, that's the receiver.
Against the rest of it. I don't know. I'm an asshole.
I really haven't broken anything at work since I worked at Party City. And when I was there, I punched a hole in the wall.
Okay. I forgot I was recording. This is terrible. So let's just... jump into it and say this is a podcast.
Yeah, this is our podcast. This is what we do. We talk a bunch of shit about past lives and maybe not past lives, maybe some haunted shit before we actually get into the podcast. But eventually we'll get around to it and introduce ourselves, like right now, maybe.
Yeah, like I'm Wendy.
I'm so sorry. I've got to figure out a better way to cue you. And I'm Chris.
No, I get it. I'm like totally watching you. My oldest, I couldn't get the printer to work earlier today to print my stories, and because I like to kill trees. And I'm just joking. I love trees. I'm sorry. But I do like to have my story printed. And he said, why don't you just read it on the computer like you do? And I said, but I like to watch her facial expressions. And if she was in the little, we do this by Skype if people didn't know that. If you were on the little screen, I don't see that well. So it would be hard for me to see your cues of like, you're trying to get me to finish a sentence.
That's how you do it. See, because I do everything is on the computer, like you just said. I've got my story right here, and I almost barely even come up for air when I'm reading my story. So I don't even pause to look at you to make sure that you're still there. Like you could have passed out, fallen asleep. I don't know. I'm just like going.
But we are off the page.
Well, that's okay. That's the magic of editing. We'll just edit all together. I can just jump into it because I was going to talk you down from the ledge. I was going to talk to you about the pictures that I posted on Instagram. So a few weeks ago, I had posted some of the pictures, and actually now it's even more than a few weeks ago that I posted pictures as like a throwback Thursday to when we went to Moundsville. And then very recently, you just did the story of when we went to Moundsville. But I totally meant to tell you this, and it didn't occur to me while we were talking to actually interject and say, hey, by the way, I got this paranormal group that had reached out to me on my Instagram post, and they were like, hey, it's cool that you were in West Virginia. have you ever thought about going to the Heyman house? And when I read this, which was like 4 a.m., I'm thinking, no, what mysterious new place is this? So I did what any other crazy idiot would do, or paranormal fanatic, I should say, at that hour, and started the coffee maker and began looking into this location. I couldn't really find a whole lot, but I did learn that it was otherwise known as the Heyman William Edgar House. A lot of names there for the house. And it was added to the National Register of Historic Places back in 2006, being built in 1884.
Ooh.
Oh, man. And this place is the talk of the town. Many claim that if you don't believe in ghosts, then you should stay a night here. Like, it's like one of those, yeah, you'll become a believer after being here.
Oh, so, those are the best places.
I know. That's why I was like, but wait, this is what you'll love the most. This like really super intrigued me. This place, the Heyman William Edgar House, had been sitting on the market for a sweet $30,000 forever until it was just recently sold. So most of the pictures that I actually saw of this place were from the real estate agent's website.
Was the house like in shambles or something, or was it like it was rough for 30,000?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was rough. It was rough. Yeah, it was. It's a beautiful old home, but it desperately needed some repairs. And I don't even know if saying desperately needed some repairs really clues you into how bad the place was. I mean, I didn't see any like black mold or anything, but it was falling apart. I mean, it had been empty and had been sitting vacant for years until it was finally sold. And once it was sold, the place is festering with ghosts. You know, like a road problem, only it's a paranormal problem.
They just are exposed as soon as a new owner moves in and needs that money to renovate the location.
Yep, that's so, you're right, exactly.
So
that's
crazy how that happens.
I knew you would love that, though, being that you are also a real estate agent, because that's sort of like one of your things is like, I want to find the haunted house.
Oh my God. Life goal.
You know?
I want to buy it. I want to do just what those people did. Say it's haunted. I need your help making it look beautiful again.
Right. And they can do it, because I swear the pictures of this place, it is a beautiful old home, just crazy cute, cute in a very haunted sort of way. Like it's like almost one of those places you see and you're like, I bet it's haunted.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's got a ghost for sure.
Yeah. At least one or two. Even in some of the pictures from the real estate agent's website, they don't look all that right. Like there's some trailing orby things that are happening, and clearly they didn't think shit of it when they took the picture and posted it on the site. But coming with a different approach, a different eye, when you're looking at some of those pictures, you're like, what was that? And how come nobody's like pointing out that there's a couple of these things in the pictures? But
also, as a real estate agent, you should really make sure your listing photos look professional and beautiful. So you probably should have got those orby things out of there.
Right. So I was wondering, like, why didn't they? Did they
Maybe
only
that's the angle they were going for the whole time.
Either they were trying to push for a paranormal buyer, a paranormal enthusiast buyer, or they didn't want to go back and retake those photos.
Yeah, that's probably it. They're like, the least amount of time that I spend there, the better,
Right. For sure.
Or however, I would camp out and tell you all about the spirits that you can buy along with the property. Right.
You would definitely have one of those signs in the grass or whatever that says, for sale, haunted. Like, just disclaimer.
That's some people's jam. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I know when we were in Louisiana, we saw that all over the place. It was like,
that is so hilarious.
So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to a paranormal group that tuned me into this place. They're Spook Paranormal. They're from Kentucky. And if you happen to be listening to this podcast, I saw your message, and this place does look pretty badass. So I'd love to hear your story from the night you guys investigated this, because I saw it all over Instagram. I saw that you were there. So I bet you've got some good, interesting stories to tell us.
Sweet. You should totally. We usually do this at the end, but since we're talking about that.
Yeah.
In case you don't make it till the end, you can email us at creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com.
think that's brilliant that you did that, because I have a very long story to tell you. In case you guys doze off before I'm done. Yes. Please email us your story at creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com. So, since I was just mentioning Louisiana, I do have another story that is in Louisiana to tell you.
Oh, sweet.
I know that we've discussed it. We've discussed this place, Louisiana, in length in this podcast already. However, I know that we're not going back anytime soon, but I do have something else that I want to share. So today I have a creepy yet fascinating swamp story for you. And as much
everybody else can't see my face, but of course I'm like mouth open, gasping quietly.
I know. I'm sorry. I paused too long there. I heard you, I guess I heard your mouth open when I said that.
Well, you can see my expression, It doesn't make any noise, my eyebrows. But they're talking to you.
Oh, yeah. I could see the excitement in your eyes. So, yes, as much as I admitted to falling in love with Louisiana after we had recently been there, and its history and its hauntings, I'm not entirely sure where I sit with the swamp. I just find swamps in general to be nightmarish. Swamps always make me think of dark, gloomy places with loads of untamed plant life. Dark and mucky water, which makes it next to impossible to spot a fucking alligator or any number of other things that may be slithering through the brush.
Water moccasins. Yep.
Yeah, don't like them. It gives me the twitchies.
I'm not into dying.
Definitely not. In my eyes, you don't need much else to make swamps seem even more disturbing. And yet some swamps have gone ahead and they've gone that extra mile.
Well, good for them.
Yeah, they get the award for being extra fucking creepy. One such swamp oozes across a large portion of Louisiana and has long been the origin for stories of shadowy ghosts, voodoo magic, and snarling beasts of the night. Not far from the boasting beautiful city of New Orleans is Manchac Swamp, and I hope I'm saying it right. It's Manchac, so I assume Manchac.
Sounds right to me.
It has the perfect setting for a haunted swamp if I've ever read up on one. You'll find stagnant green waters littered with plant life and algae, and very likely to be prowled by alligators, and groves of mysterious, tired old trees draped in moss.
God, those trees are so pretty, though. Sorry to cut you off.
They are. Those trees, seriously, to me, that is the most epic, haunting thing the way they blow in that dank air.
Yeah, they're just gorgeous, and they just say so much, and they're the only reason I'd hang out in a swamp. I do like seeing alligators, but from the safety of a large boat.
Yeah, right.
Which you don't really take in a swamp. You don't take a large boat. But just somebody that knows what they're doing, and a pontoon style boat, I guess.
I know. Oh, man, I have to admit that even when I have seen the alligators in the zoo, I'm terrified, and I'm so happy that there's this sheet of glass between me and them, and also, I don't know, a 20-foot drop at least. There's no way they could climb up. They don't have suction cups on their little claw feet. I just don't like them. I know that they have such strength in their jaws that that's not something that I want to mess around with. I want to see it from afar. I'll see it on the television and be cool, but I don't. Man, if I saw one in real life, I would freak the fuck out.
Have I told you we've seen one in real life?
No.
Right? I've told you this before. I had to have so many years ago, 7-8 years ago or something like that. The first time that we ever took the kids to Orlando, and we have a camper, so we camped out at a state park that's the perfect location. If you have a camper and you want to go, because it's cheap, it's in the state park, and it was beautiful setting, all those beautiful trees and stuff. And it had this lake. So we get in a canoe, first time we've ever canoed, all four of us. And we go out, and there's a fucking alligator. We cruise by, and we're so afraid because we've never been on a canoe before. We're so afraid that the kids were going to freak out when they saw this alligator rocket and will fall into the water. The alligator was big, and it was on the bank. It wasn't in the water. And so we're just like, do you see that? Yeah. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. And we just paddle past it as fast as we can, trying not to draw attention to it. Then when we come back, that alligator ain't on the bank anymore.
Oh, no.
We came back the same way and it was not there. And then we saw an alligator in the water, but it was not the same alligator. It was a smaller alligator and it went right in front of the canoe. There was a lady in an inflatable kayak.
Talk about a lady with a death wish.
And she stopped and talked to us. We were like, did you see the alligator? And she's like, yeah, it did. And we're like, there was a bigger one and we don't know where it's at. So
Lady,
just to let you know, get the fuck out of the water with your inflatable kayak, ma'am.
God, that's insane. I mean,
but
she's taking thrill seeking to the next level.
She is. But my kids will forever remember that moment. And they did see the one in the water. They didn't see the one on the banks. But, you know, they feel like such badasses that they tell people, you know, they canoed right past an alligator or whatever. It was like a little baby alligator.
Still, man, they're creepy as all get out. So I can totally get where they're coming from with their, like, OG on the gator canoeing.
It was cool, but I'm sorry. Where were you?
I forgot about the story. You did tell me that before, but
yeah, I was supposed to tell everyone because I feel like a badass.
OG, yeah, right. OG Gator canoer over here. I gotta get you a new T-shirt. So all along the snake and gator infested shores are the decrepit remains of wooden swamp cabins. Along the water and brush, you can't even tell if those places are currently occupied, nor do you dare to find out. I mean, even if it's people, it could just be gators. So, no.
Gators living in the cabins? Is that
Who knows? Yep.
No.
Old Hank Gator goes and pours himself a beer, and he's like, Hodge, make me a sandwich. I can't do a Cajun accent for shit. So
oh, God, no. That's very difficult to do. But we used to watch that show on the History Channel, the Swamp People show or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So you would think these cabins off the swamps, oh, my God, nobody would live there. Oh, no.
Right.
People will live there.
That's what makes it even more creepy, man. It's just like, what?
You're like, look at that haunted cabin. And then somebody comes up and then they yell something out at you or whatever. You see them outside the house. You're like, holy fuck, is that a ghost? Or is that's just a man living in what looks like a shack in the swamp.
Right. Brave. That's what I'll call him brave. I couldn't do it. But one of the most popular and persistent tales surrounding the swamp is the story of Julia Brown, a voodoo priestess who resided in Louisiana in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Were you just yawning? Was this like super boring?
No, Chris, I was going to do this story when we were in New Orleans.
Are you serious?
But
my God.
But I didn't find a whole lot on it. Okay. So after, you know, we ran out of time when we were in Louisiana for me to do the story. And we were just too busy always having the best time and exploring that we didn't record that much. But this was one of my 3 stories that I had like packed. And then when we got back home, I was like, I'm going to do these stories. I wrote them, you know, but then I was like, I don't have a whole lot on this story. So, I guess I won't.
Well, it's cool because that was sort of the reverse in the last podcast because I was working on one that you had done. But it's really neat for me to be reliving this story now that we've already been there. And it's cool because you might know some of this that
I know, but you just said your story was really long, and what I had was not that long. So I must have been like cut, copy, and paste, done, and you've like traveled back into time and witnessed the whole thing. So
you'll see why. You'll see why my story is really long when I get to it.
I cannot wait because this is a good story. Like the little bit that I know was really good.
It is good stuff. Julia Brown, she was, I guess, a little reclusive or more reclusive than most of the people in the area, but she was feared to a degree. It was said that Julia enjoyed trying to predict the demise of surrounding towns as she sat on the porch of her swamp shack. She would also make arcane gestures at those who passed by, giving people the evil eye, singing particularly spooky songs about the day of her death, and basically do whatever she could to freak people out.
She just didn't like people coming around.
Right. She just wanted to be left alone. I told you already that she was more reclusive than most people. You know, wandering people near her swamp shack. She's like, oogie boogie, whatever. Get the fuck away from me.
I'm a weirdo. Leave me alone. Right. And then she went back to like reading her book or whatever.
Yeah. You know? Playing guitar. Wanted
people to leave her alone.
Despite her eccentric ways, Julia Brown was seen as a potent oracle, and many looked to her predictions for signs of impending doom or misfortune. Many also thought that she dealt out curses to anyone that would have wronged her, giving many a reason to fear her. One of her most persistent predictions was that there would be some type of deadly cataclysmic disaster when she passed on, and Julia has often been quoted saying, "One day I'm going to die, and I'm going to take all of you with me."
Which is like, whoa, lady.
Yeah.
That's
whoa,
rude.
lady.
I don't even know you. I mean, like, I'm sure there's some people in her town that were like, leave me out of this.
Whoa, lady. I don't even know you. No doubt. I mean, could you imagine just being some guy like, I don't know, starting your newspaper route? You're like, "Hey, Julia, Aunt Julia, I got your paper." And she's like, "One day I'm going to die." And he's like, "Whoa, hold on. Hold on."
Well, we're all going to die one day, Miss Brown. He's like, "I'm taking all of you with me." Oh, wait. Okay. Here's your paper, bitch. No.
And I'm never coming here again. Hope you don't like the paper. Oh, but so chillingly, just before she died in 1915, Julia chanted this phrase over and over again. On the day of her crowded funeral, a horrible hurricane hit the town, causing a devastating tidal wave that swept through, killing 275 people and leveled 3 villages. This was a Category 4 major hurricane known as the New Orleans Hurricane of 1915.
Ooh, did they not call them by names back then?
I prompted you to say that.
You knew how much I'm interested in the weather.
I do. And honestly, when I read that, I'm like, holy shit, wait a second. I did another story that had a huge hurricane. So let's find out more about this naming thing. So I do have some information for you. I found out that the U.S. didn't actually start using female names for storms until 1953. And it wasn't even until 1978 that both male and female names were used to name storms.
Yeah, hold the fuck up. They started only with female names, like only bitches could ruin things like this.
I didn't even look at it like that.
And then some women were like, what the fuck, man? This guy's an asshole too. He's like a hurricane. I mean, that's weird.
I don't know. You know,
that's
the Scorpions
sexist and weird.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The Scorpions sang "Rock You Like a Hurricane." So maybe, you know, women are supposed to be more kick-ass than dudes. And maybe that's why they went with the female names first.
Look, I know we're crazy. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying, like, it should be equal and fair.
Well, as of 1978, it did become equal.
Good.
So we're here now with both men and women's names being used for naming storms. But the list of male and female names are only used on a 6-year rotation. The only time that there is a change is if a storm is so deadly or costly that the future of its name on a different storm would be completely inappropriate. They retire it then. Otherwise, it'll stay in that rotation.
Okay. Seems like it would take a long time.
No, but wait. So then in the event that there are more than 21 named tropical cyclones in a season, any additional storms will take names from the Greek alphabet, male or female. They don't fucking care.
Oh, that's so funny, though. We're recording this in advance. So yesterday, Lorraine Warren passed away.
Yeah.
And the story we're talking about, where you talked about the hurricane, that was when you brought in, you were talking about Ed and Lorraine Warren. So that's a little weird. But it's that podcast. You don't remember the name of that podcast, do you? I don't.
It was the Smurl. It was the Smurl Residence, the Smurl Haunting.
It's the Smurl Residence, whatever we might have named it. That's what happens when you give kooky names to your podcast. You can't always remember what they're, because it doesn't give the story away.
It's Knife Fight with the Tornado.
Oh my God. That was like one of my favorite titles too. So when we were on that podcast, they said that they retired the name of a hurricane, and we were like, that's weird. Why? That doesn't make any sense. So if you go back and listen to that story, or you don't have to, but I at least connected the dots for you so you understand why she's explaining all this to me.
Yeah, I thought that was great information. I finally revisited it, and I got you the news that you've been dying for since episode...
I have to understand how this works.
That was episode... Hang on, I'm cheating here. I'm going to Instagram. That was episode 22.
That was a while ago, yeah.
It was a while ago. So, according to the lore, Julia Brown, along with all those who had been killed at her funeral, were unceremoniously buried in a mass grave at the... I'm going to take a stab at this since we're in Louisiana and call it the Frenier Cemetery. It's spelled Frenier. So I would think Frenier, but maybe because, they do like French, so maybe it's Frenier. So anyways, buried at a mass grave at the cemetery, otherwise known as the 1915 cemetery. Just an FYI, because I'm going to post pictures of this cemetery. This alleged mass grave is now like whoever, like I guess, is doing the tours has put up some props to make it look more like a cemetery. So I just want to put that out as an FYI. When I do put pictures out there, it's not a legit cemetery. It's completely fake. It's just there basically to give you a something to focus on.
Point of reference.
I get why they had to do it. Like I said, like you said, for a point of reference, but it is kind of it's
deceiving, because if you came across it, you'd be like, oh my God, look at this cemetery.
Yeah.
Until you touch it and you see the headstones are, styrofoam or something. You're like, that's weird.
They're totally fake. Oh, so I wonder how often they have to replace those styrofoam like crosses and stuff.
they're probably not really styrofoam.
So to this day, many believe that there are still bodies that remain lodged within the slimy muck at the bottom of the swamp, and that occasionally a body will float up through the muddy swill to the surface. But since the hurricane's wrath, the voices of the dead and an apparition of Julia Brown herself are said to haunt the Manchac Swamp, with Julia's ghost reportedly having the habit of repeating the same eerie chant she had sung before her death. Modern ghost tours of the swamp visit the site of Julia Brown's old shack and mass grave regularly, in case you fast forwarded it about 30 seconds ago. It's supposedly quite common for visitors to hear strange wailing emanating from the swamp in this area. Some visitors that have posted their experiences on Reddit have claimed to have seen Julia cackling at the edge of the water. Ooh, I thought that was extra spooky.
She seems like the personality that would cackle at all of this. So,
but I have some really interesting information that I'll get into even further. Yeah, she does. She was eccentric. So yeah, I could see her like just standing there. I mean, that's kind of like what I want to be doing.
She finds all of this hilarious,
Yes.
She's like, I told you bitches.
I'm still laughing. Many seem to believe that the hurricane was a direct result of the curse that Julia Brown placed on the area before she died. And they also feel her curse was a result of the fatal collapse of the Manchac Bridge in 1976. Although the new bridge, a 120,000-foot concrete behemoth of a bridge, has seemingly resisted this hex. And yes, this is the same fucking bridge that we drove on.
I was totally like, wait a minute. We were on a bridge for a really long time.
It was this bridge, this massive bridge. It replaced the one that came down. And that was a crazy bridge. And like some of the stories I read, it's actually pretty dangerous, as you could imagine, because that water did not look safe. It didn't look like, if you wanted to just drive off, that you would just hit some kind of sandy marsh. No, it looks like you would be bloop swallowed whole.
But not just by water, but like like mucky mud too, that you cannot get your ass out of.
Right. It's all swamp. It's definitely. I hope that I can find some of the pictures that I took while we were on that bridge for what seemed like a decade.
Yeah. Because we were in New Orleans and we drove to, where did we drive to? St. Francisville.
Yes.
To go to the Myrtles or whatever. And you're on that bridge like forever.
The whole time. It seemed like the whole time we were in Louisiana, it seemed like we were on that bridge.
We were in New Orleans. We were on this bridge. And then we were just, bam, in St. Francisville. That's like what it was like. So this is crazy. Like I said, when I looked at this story, I did not go to the extent. I had no idea that that's where it was.
Isn't that crazy? I know that's what when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, like that's the whole reason why I had to do this story. We were on that bridge. It was like a time warp. I mean, okay, we did go to like Dollar General, I think, and maybe Fred's. But other than that, we were on that bridge. But the hex might have actually developed out of people's fears over time from actually not understanding what Julia Brown was really all about. So as a matter of fact, Julia Brown was a real person. Census records suggest she was born Julia Bernard in Louisiana around 1845, then married to a laborer named Celestin Brown. He has kind of a cool first name.
Yeah, he does.
And that was Celestin. And maybe I'm saying it wrong, but it does still seem like a cool name. Maybe she called him Celeste in short. Celeste? I don't know. What would you call someone with a Celestin name for short?
You wouldn't. You would just call them their proper name and be like, that's my man.
I love that. I do. So anyway, she married him in 1880. About 20 years later, the federal government gave her husband a 40-acre homestead plot to farm. That property was likely passed on to Julia after her husband's death around 1914. Official census and property records don't make any mention of Brown's voodoo work, but that's not especially surprising. Bloody Mary commented that she found references to a voodoo priestess or a queen by the name of Brown who worked in New Orleans around the 1860s before moving out to Frenier. Mary notes that because the towns had no doctors, Brown likely served as the local healer or a traiteur, which is a folk healer in Louisiana tradition, and a midwife, using whatever knowledge and materials she could find to care for local residents.
Because they were out in the middle of nowhere, very far from hospital. So relying on a woman like that was essential. Yeah.
Right. It seems to be a little bit more fitting. And by the way, for anyone listening who doesn't know who Bloody Mary is, she's like a modern New Orleans voodoo priestess. She's like the one you hope to run into while you're in New Orleans because you want that selfie. You got to take it to Bloody Mary.
I was just sitting here thinking she's the one that needs to finish renovating her basement.
Oh my God. Yeah, she needs to make sure there's toilet and soap in her basement at all
That's right.
times.
There was no soap. Was there toilet paper? But the bathroom looked great, but the rest of the place kind of looked like a dungeon. So I'm like, finish this basement. What's wrong with you?
We did. We got to go into Bloody Mary's house, which was, oh my God, like my dreams were coming true to go inside this woman's abode because
and just to say, like, I was in Bloody Mary's house. She wasn't there, or if she was hiding somewhere. But
wait. We weren't like breaking in.
No.
Just so you know.
No, it's a total tour that you can buy. And then another voodoo priestess takes you on it and she does like a ceremony in front of you. And so it's just, even if you're not into that stuff, like if you go to New Orleans, you got to get into the culture and just let yourself experience it to see it, just to see what it's like. So
it just ropes you in. Like, I mean,
oh my God.
If you're not into it, what are you doing here? It's so amazing.
Well, I mean, like, I'm not going to go home and start doing voodoo or anything like that, but I got to see what this is all about, you know? So it was like really, really exciting. We talked about that a long time ago. That was our grand opening of this whole podcast. But like going on that tour, and the second they said a voodoo priestess was your tour guide, I was like, take all my money. I've got to see this.
When we went into Bloody Mary's
store.
I can't remember what it's called, like haunted store or voodoo store, something like that. And we were inquiring about tours because there was a sign outside that said inquire about tours inside. So we were doing exactly what the sign had said. And yeah, the lady was going through the spiel, and I remember like thinking, oh my God, Wendy's going to kill me, but I want this so bad. And Wendy's like, are you stupid? I'm not going to kill you. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was the most hilarious moment. Like I've known for a long time that we are best friends. But
that was one of the other moments.
The second that they say things like Bloody Mary's house and a voodoo priestess is your tour guide, and we snap from across the room and look at each other and lock eyes, I'm like, I meant to spend my life with this person.
That was awesome. I know better, because like I was so afraid, like as soon as I said I want to do this, like I was still afraid that Wendy would be like, oh my God, she's going to spend all my money. But now I know better. It's not going to be like that from now on.
I know I come off as a cheapskate, but like when it's something I just have to have these experiences in my life. You can't let this stuff pass you by. So I mean, like, you gotta I know it's splurge, but it's a splurge that's totally worth it.
Oh, so worth it. It was so cool. So yeah, Bloody Mary, that name means so much to us, but for anybody that isn't aware of who she is, I mean, get with it, man. Google her. She's all over the place. And she's a cool lady. We didn't get a chance to meet her, but she opened up her house to just some people who were just from out of state, just touring the place, and she allowed that to happen. So either she knows her shit's frightening enough and you're not going to mess with it, or she's cool.
Oh, let's put a disclaimer out there. She's also making a good amount of money from these tours. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. True. I mean, I'd open up my house too.
Yeah.
At, $90 a pop. So.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, I'm with you. Her buddy seemed to be cool though. But anyways,
she did seem cool, and like I said, the whole thing was an experience that you wouldn't get from anywhere else. So it was totally worth it. I'm not downing that, but anybody that's listening that's like not just like soaks it all up, and they like they know that there's people out there that are opportunist.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she is making some money from it, but it was worth it.
Oh yeah, it was worth it.
It was worth the money. If you're going to New Orleans, this is what you need to see.
Oh, yeah. There are some people that will run you through a tour just because they're getting paid to do so. She wasn't that kind of a person. I mean, She's either into it because she really is into it, or what, I don't know. I don't know what other reason there would be. She was a great tour guide, and it just went so well with just being in that town. And it was such a great experience.
I love it so
great.
Much. Yeah.
So going back to what Bloody Mary said about Julia Brown. So the song that Julia Brown was said to sing, an oral history from the longtime area resident Helen Schlosser-Berg records that Aunt Julia Brown always would sit on her front porch and played her guitar and sang songs that she would make up. The words to one of the songs she sang said that one day she would die and everything would die with her. So it's a little bit different than the chant that I had said earlier. So you can see how, like, over time, things kind of get displaced. And I don't even know if this long-term area resident is even stating the song correctly. But along those lines, Julia did say something to the effect that, I'm going to die, y'all going to die with me. Something like that.
But what the historian, is that what she was?
Yeah.
Is saying is that she said everything's going to die with me.
With her. Yeah.
She's talking about her. She could still be talking about herself.
Yeah.
She's not talking about the whole town. She's talking about, she could just mean this is the end of, her existence in this area and her background and culture with the voodoo and everything. I mean, she could have been meaning it on that level, and then everybody interpreted, what do you mean by everything? You're talking about us? And get all defensive and stuff.
No, you're right. That's 100% what I'm getting at here. There's a lot of interpretation, I think, that played in to Julia Brown as a person. Just because she was a little weird and she was a voodoo priestess, I think things kind of were taken out of
content.
Yeah.
Also, what if Julia was a drinker and she liked to sit on the porch and make shit up?
Oh, well, shit. I think we would have been closer friends with this lady.
That's what I'm saying. I could be out there making up some stuff, laughing my ass off, cackling, and then everybody's like, that bitch is crazy.
Plus, I love drinking on the front porch.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, she was a big part of the town too. Everyone knew her. They knew what she was into. So it's easy for stories to start spreading, especially over someone that's a little popular,
Yeah.
There's even one newspaper account from 1915 that describes Brown's funeral on the day of the storm. In the words of the New Orleans Times-Picayune from October 2nd, 1915, and I had to change some of the wording as it was offensive. Just FYI, if you go fact-checking me here, I'm not giving the verbatim, but here we go. Many pranks were played by wind and tide. Many people had gathered for miles around to attend the funeral of Aunt Julia Brown, who was well known in that section and was a big property owner. The funeral was scheduled, and Aunt Julia had been placed in her casket, and the casket in turn had been placed in the customary wooden box and sealed. At 4 o'clock, however, the storm had become so violent that everyone left the house in a stampede, abandoning the corpse. The corpse was found Thursday, and so was the wooden box, but the casket was never found.
Wait.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
She's believed to be buried in the mass grave. Bloody Mary doesn't think Brown laid any kind of curse on the town and says voodoo isn't as much about curses as it is about healing. The locals she talked with remember Julia as a beloved local healer, not a revengeful type. In fact, Mary actually suggests that Julia's song may have been more of a warning to the townsfolk than a curse against them. Perhaps Brown even tried to perform an anti-storm ritual and was unable to stop the hurricane before it was too late. Whatever she did, Mary says it wasn't out of malevolence. She goes on to say, you have more to fear with the alligators in the swamp than from Julia's restless spirit.
Yes, for sure.
Right?
I believe all creatures have souls, but theirs are motivated by food. So
yes, their bellies. I'm hungry.
I'm not sure they have emotions like humans do. So I would definitely fear them more.
Yeah. So, and that's like another reason why I really love voodoo. To me, it seems like it's so misunderstood. I think that people have developed this intense fear, and the movies kind of feed into it. That it's all these bad ritualistic kind of things, and people just don't really fully know what it's there for, what it was there for. Like we talked earlier in the story, was that she was more there to help as kind of like a doctor because they were so far away from the town.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like witchcraft. I mean,
yeah, right.
It's just being in tune with nature and kind of developing. I mean, essentially they're developing medicines for people, but because they're doing it without a degree or whatever, then it's taken as like, ooh, what kind of magic are you putting on? I'm just putting on common sense. This plant is good for that. And so, I mean, they put it on, but they do it with what is called chants, but are really just like prayers to the gods. And maybe their gods aren't just like your gods. So that's why they get labeled as something different.
Yeah,
that's really all it is. It's just having a different opinion ultimately on a religious standpoint. And that's what makes you like, ooh, you must be doing something bad.
That's true. Yeah, that's exactly true. That's exactly how I feel about it. But there is still something going on at the swamp. And if it's not Julia's spirit causing all the ruckus, then what else could it be? So I believe this podcast is coming out the week before my birthday, so that's why I took the extra step of going this little extra mile.
Wait, is it really?
I think so. If not, then you'll just have to suffer through this one because I got some more info that I just am dying to tell you about. I just wanted to add a disclaimer because I'm going to get into a little weird stuff here.
Well, yeah, like I did the vampires the week after my birthday, then you get to do whatever you want.
So to answer that ponderous question about what else could be happening out there, I have another popular legend to tell you. And this one really takes swamp creepiness to the next level.
That's pretty easy to do. But
I know. We already discussed that. The shit's creepy already. The Manchac Swamp is said to be the hunting grounds of the Rougarou.
Okay. That was a loud gasp. Not letting my eyebrows speak for me then. I made sure you knew I was like excited.
I'm so excited. I love this. The Rougarou is basically the Cajun version of the werewolf. The tales of the Rougarou have many variations, but it is mostly described as being a huge hulking beast, up to 10 feet tall, with hair-covered body of a human and the head of a wolf or a dog, often reported as having pale white fur, very prominent fangs, and red glowing eyes. And this beast stalks the swamps, bayous, and fields of Louisiana. Many say that the creature actually takes on the form of a large dog rather than a wolf, which, kind of makes sense because wolves aren't native to Louisiana.
Well, also, what's the fucking difference almost, though? I mean, like, a large dog is about like a wolf,
Right. I think people are trying to add too much logic to this, and they're like, you know what? Wolves really shouldn't be in Louisiana, so maybe they mean a dog. No, I mean, they're basically the same. Aren't they bred from... Dogs are from wolves anyways, right?
Yeah, they're along the same family line, yes. And if you go to like a zoo and see wolves, I mean, They look like fucking dogs. I mean, because they're all domesticated and everything, they've been fed. So I'm not saying that you can tame a wolf necessarily. It's not like I've done it, so I'm not going to tell you that. But I'm just saying, at the Memphis City Zoo, I think I could pet those fucking wolves.
They're really sweet. They do seem like... nice animals, but I swear to God, you were about to say I have never tamed a Rougarou because I was like, Other tales suggest that it's actually a ghost or a spectral apparition which glows in the night, or some other type of a beast that can just disappear at will. The mysterious beast is said to be able to change its shape back and forth and can take on other forms as well, such as a werepig, werecattle, or even werecranes. Can we please keep going with this list, though? Like, how come werefrog, weremoth, werekitten isn't in the list? What the fuck? I mean, why does he always have to be these hulking beasts?
So, a werepig, you shocked me, but I'm also like, yeah, there's probably fucking wild pigs out there that you don't want to fuck with. But a werecow? I mean,
yep.
That's where I'm like, leave them out of this.
Hold a second.
They're the most docile creatures. They just want to eat. They don't care. And you try to make them vicious.
What about cranes? You ever seen them out there on their one leg in the middle of some
being
lake
all angelic and stuff like that? No, I don't think they mean any harm, but I don't trust them. Most birds I don't trust. So.
I don't either. That's why I made up the werefrog, weremoth, and werekitten. I was thinking of birds, but I'm like, no, they're dangerous.
I mean, they're descendants from dragons from dinosaurs. That's what I meant.
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah, that third toe and everything.
Dragons, dinosaurs, whatever.
Oh, dinosaurs. Anyways, I already cut off my list. So, the most common story of the Rougarou, which, by the way, when you got all excited when I said that, is that like your favorite cryptid or something? Because you were like, Rougarou.
Maybe my wine just kicked in. I'm not really sure.
That's so funny.
I just love lores like that. Like, I don't know if it's just, it was older times and people didn't know how to express themselves or how to apply logic and science, because we all know that took a really long time for people to start woven in that science to everything. And that they come up with these creatures. But you got to admit, there's a lot of weird things out there that we're still discovering. I just love mythical creatures.
Okay, yeah, I'm totally with you. And that's good. I'm glad about that, because I was like, oh my God, if this is like her favorite cryptid of all time, I'm probably not going to do it justice, and I'll feel terrible.
No.
So the most common story of the Rougarou is that its curse has to be transferred to another person by drawing blood within 101 days. And the curse can only be broken through passing it on to others. It's weird because this is usually done either by viciously attacking someone. Okay, fine, I get that. Or simply gazing into the other's eyes. Boom.
Don't look at me so threatening.
Right. That's so funny, because I actually read that was pretty much in Louisiana. People would they were questioning anybody that was looking at them weird. They're like, what the hell is happening? Why are they staring at me? In order to break the curse, you must remain silent about the eye stare contest, I guess, for a whole year and a day, after which the curse will be broken for both parties. One of those stories involves a young newlywed wife who was waiting for her husband at the edge of the swamp on the night of a full moon. The woman is confronted with a massive wolf-like creature and locks its gaze with hers before stalking off into the night. The woman, knowing that she was just infected by the foul beast's curse, subsequently locks herself up in a shed every night with a full moon. And after a year and a day have passed, the cured woman, who has remained silent about the encounter, is asked by her husband if she ever waited for him by the edge of the swamp in moonlight. She says nope. After which the husband admits that he was in fact the creature she had seen and had been cursed by. And because she kept quiet about the whole thing, that now they were both freed from the curse. So, not talking about it.
Relationship goals. I mean, don't talk about your problems. This is okay. So, as a superstition and like a lore or whatever, this sounds great. It sounds
right.
Plausible compared to other stories and everything. The simple fact that he is also having something going on makes sense to why he wouldn't question to what she's doing every full moon, locking herself in this shed. Because I'm pretty sure a husband that wasn't having any issues would be like, I'm sorry, what?
Why do you keep locking your ass up in the shed?
What were you doing out there? And they would have been divorced, murdered, whatever. I don't know.
I love sewing in the moonlight. That's what I'm doing. No, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, I love your reasoning about the hashtag relationship goals.
Yeah, just trust each other. Some weird shit's going on. We're gonna get through this.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's one way to lift the curse. Another way was apparently through the help of powerful voodoo spells.
Right. I would have been looking for that instead of spending a whole year having to sleep in a shed during the full moon.
Yeah, but so there's a little snafu with that. There's a little problem with the second option. You would have to tell a voodoo priestess why you need that spell. So I think it's almost like a bullshit, gotcha, now you get to be a Rougarou. Like, I don't know if that's like one of those gotcha kind of things.
I get it. Except for the voodoo people should just trust in when you ask for help, you need help.
They should just,
They should get it.
Yeah. I don't have any stories of anyone going to the voodoo lady for a spell to cure them.
It walks that fine line of like, she's figured out why I need this. And then, you don't want to chance it. So I get it. I'd sleep in a shed. I wouldn't tell anybody.
I like that. I'll have to look next time I'm in Salem to see if they have any Rougarou ointment there that I can just pick up, just in case. I don't,
You never know.
So I think that maybe this is why many people just stick it out the 101 days, which is funny to me. It kind of reminds me of when you get a new job and you don't have health insurance for like 90 days. You're just like, well, it is what it is. I got to Lysol everything and stay indoors. I don't know what else to do. Another story about the Rougarou tells of a boy who was on his way home that came across a huge white dog, which was acting very aggressively towards him. The dog was biting and snarling, so he took out his knife and he slashed at the crazed dog. The animal then transformed and spoke to the boy, telling him that he had been imprisoned by the devil into this form, and the same thing would happen to him if he was not careful. The stranger also warned that if the boy told anybody about the encounter, that he would become a Rougarou as well. So, what'd the kid do? Told everybody he knew.
Yeah, because he's a kid. I mean, also, I'm sorry. It just dawned on me. So the husband was a Rougarou.
Yeah.
So he told somebody, but not his wife. Who the fuck is he telling and not entrusting her?
Oh, see, I didn't research. I didn't even think about that.
That's, my assholey self will be like, wait who were you talking to? Yeah. Who's your best friend over me? Okay. But yeah, he's a kid, so that's not even fair because they're going to tell everybody.
Yeah. Well, you're right. The husband did tell somebody and did not tell her, so he was keeping shit from her.
Mm.
And yes, so that gives me something to think about. But the boy,
Like if your husband's ever in a Rougarou, I mean, like,
no, but like
no.
I gotta go back and look more into that story because you're so right, and I didn't even think about that. I was just like, done and done. That's that story. Let's move on to this little boy. So, but that's wild. So, anyways, after a year of mysterious disappearances and finding blood splattered on his body without any recollection of what happened or even knowing whose blood it was, the boy was suddenly found dead in the street one morning. The authorities ruling it a suicide, but those who knew better claimed that he had been a Rougarou. Rougarou.
Just that they were like, he killed himself. No, he couldn't have. He was a mythical creature instead.
Right, exactly.
You know, the police are just staring at them like, I'm sorry, what? But in New Orleans, I'm sorry, in Louisiana, I don't think they would look at you crazy. They'd be like,
Right.
you have a good point.
I know that story. Yes. I was warned of that when I was a child.
Yes.
Okay. It's a Rougarou. Other popular stories, and one that actually it's a couple that made it to Wikipedia, so I guess I'm lying by saying one. Saying that these were creatures have the habit of ravaging Catholics who have not observed Lent properly.
There's so many rules. I'd be like, can you type that up for me? Because I'm going to forget.
Yeah, first of all, they have a lot of options to becoming a Rougarou, and then there's a lot of rules to living around them. So
Yeah.
it's just,
I mean, I'm not Catholic, so maybe I don't have to care. But
well, so yes, Catholics who have not observed Lent properly, and that any Catholic failing to observe Lent for a full 7 years in a row was surely to be transformed into one of these beasts, or at least incur their wrath. Also, they're said to be drawn to those who misbehaved or committed criminal acts, making them a popular story to tell children in order to keep them in line and out of trouble. Like a very common thing for a child to hear would be something along the lines of, come home before dark, lest the Rougarou get you.
why didn't we think of this when our children were younger? Now
I don't
they'd be
know.
on to us.
Yeah,
if we
right.
brought
Of
this
course.
up.
I tried with so many different stories with my kid. The only one that I could think of, as a matter of fact, because I'm on the same train of thought as you. The only thing that I could think of that my parents would ever say to me that was, slightly creepy was, good night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite.
That's also what my parents said to me, but they had no problem telling me there were murderers and rapists out there. So, I mean, like, they didn't even
Right.
go the mythical,
No.
this could happen to you. I mean, maybe I knew the boogeyman, but he's under your bed. What are you going to
Right.
do? Like, he's just there. Don't get out of your bed.
Don't get out of your bed. Nobody wants to in the dark thinking that something's under your bed. You keep them toes covered, like tucked in. Like, there's no way I'm getting out.
Not even playing. I look under my bed. I can't tell you how many nights a week before I get in.
Mine is so low to the floor. If a boogeyman wants to even try to squeeze up under that shit, go for it, man.
It's
Go
because I
ahead.
have a dog door, and I think that some
Okay.
person is going to work their way into that dog door and get underneath my bed.
I could see that. That's a creepy thought. Yeah.
So you got to check it out.
No, I'm doing it tonight for sure. Thank you for the warning. I wish anybody that's listening to this could have seen the very serious, intense look on Wendy's face just then. Check underneath your bed. So, for any unfortunate person that had gone missing within the swamp, they're pretty much thought to have been a victim of the Rougarou. As steeped in folklore as the stories of swamp-dwelling werewolves might be, there are many reports of people actually claiming to see them or to hear their eerie howls at night. Some rather dramatic reports have even told of creatures chasing cars down the road or slaughtering their cattle. So I would assume that they're not slaughtering other cattle. They would just be cattle. Because that would be like,
No.
hey, Paul. Hey, Fred.
Kind of fight amongst your own kind like that. No, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah.
Some helpless regular cattle.
Right. Helpless regular cattle. That's what I was thinking too. Their large, hulking appearance and hair-covered bodies have led to the theory that rather than werewolves, the townspeople report seeing that maybe it's actually Bigfoot.
No.
It's a theory. I mean, there's no proof either way, but, it's a big hulking beast, so why not? These are probably millennials, if I had to guess. They're just like the new people coming into town. They're like, there's no such thing as a Rougarou. Bigfoot, however, maybe, but I don't care enough.
They're not that big though. Like Bigfoot's big, you know.
Yeah, right.
And he doesn't hang out in swamps. Get your story straight. That's people just jealous of people that live
in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know where Bigfoot would come from, but the Rougarou is actually said to...
He got on a train and...
I saw that preview, too. Wait, that's a Yeti, isn't it? He wants to go and find his other brethren or whatever, so he goes...
and a big, trench coat
like
on to hide.
Like a British coat.
Yes.
He's just... It looks cute. Nevertheless, if there are Rougarou out there, whatever they are, then Manchac Swamp is said to be one of their favorite haunts. Adding to the tales of werewolves and voodoo curses are the various and other strange phenomena being reported from the swamp. Mystery lights, shadowy apparitions, orbs of light, and glows emanating from abandoned swamp shacks are all common occurrences here, as are a few stories of monstrous alligators, far larger than normal, prowling through the remote areas of the swamp. I can't even say that in one sentence because I get intensely afraid the thought that it's out there. And I know that alligators exist, so it's just horrifying for me. Whatever is going out there in this spooky place, it's hard to look upon Manchac Swamp and not get the feeling that this place, with an atmosphere of doom and gloom, that rightfully deserves its reputation as a cursed haunted place, whether it actually is or not. So that was fun, huh?
It was fantastic.
Everything I love, just in a swamp. So
yeah, it took me on a roller coaster I actually liked.
I was like, it's one of those things when you start digging into a story and you're like, I was there. I was right there. Being on that bridge forever just brought all of this back for me. And we could have seen a Rougarou. He could have been out there.
I'm certain we did.
I wonder if they make it out to, where was the Myrtles?
In St. Francisville.
I wonder if he goes out that far.
There has to be a swamp somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we followed it along the whole way to get there.
Yeah.
But
there were other towns before that, so I'm sure it would hit the other towns. Lots of people to turn into the creature. Yeah. So, maybe not that far, but that's just, oh my God, I love that. I love all of that.
Good. I love cryptids. I love mythical creatures, hauntings, all of that good stuff. So I'm happy to throw that into my story because to me, it was all good stuff. So if you're ever in Louisiana, don't just go for New Orleans. Yes, New Orleans is super cool. There's a lot of fun stuff down there, but you got to get out into some of the other areas to really check out these places. As we've said before, we went to the Myrtles. It's outside of New Orleans, so there's a bit of a drive and a lot of in between that you can actually investigate. So hit us up if you have any stories from that location or any Louisiana stories of your own. I think it'd be super cool to add to the podcast or whatever we put this out on social media.
Oh my gosh, yes. Voodoo stories, mythical creature stories, swamp stories, anything from Louisiana. We'll take it all.
Yeah.
All of that I love. I'm so fascinated by places that are really culturally different. And New Orleans is that. It's not like any other place that I've been to in the United States. And I haven't been everywhere, so I know there's a lot of interesting places and stuff. But it's a vibe down there that's extreme and it's crazy. And
extreme is a good word for it.
And it is just the culture that they have going on there with the voodoo and everything. It's a little like Salem, but that's witchcraft and this is voodoo, and it's just... It's a strong belief, and it's not all bad. Whatever you're thinking, you should really see it in action.
Yeah,
you
should.
And then, oh my gosh, if swamps weren't meant for mythical things to hide in, then I don't know what else they were meant for. Because I can see a water moccasin along the Mississippi. I don't have to see it in a swamp. But there's something deeper going on there.
Oh, yeah. Creepy. Something deeper, creepy, paranormal, supernatural, whatever word you want to find that links horrifying and otherworldly together, then that would be probably the best way to describe it.
And it's so fascinating, but also nothing I ever want to run into. So,
yeah, definitely. Definitely. I
don't want to take my chances there.
After I just told you guys to go out and explore the wilderness, we wouldn't.
Nope. Because I can't for 101 days not tell Chris about something. So,
I know.
how would I tell her that? And nobody would get if I need to go sleep in a shed during the full moon. I don't want to sleep in the shed.
I don't think they're very comfortable. I mean, that's not fun. That's not, I don't know. I like camping. But apparently, I don't know why. Why did she have to lock herself up in a shed? It doesn't say that she turned into a beast either. She just locked herself up. Maybe she was afraid that she was going to go on a killing spree.
Maybe she was afraid she was going to be visited by it, because that's when, that's the time that he turned into the creature, right? Mm-hmm. I imagine she was so scared just to be out during that time frame until like she had relief from it, which had to be really relieving for her husband to be like, oh yeah, that was me.
So glad you didn't tell anybody. Now we're all free.
Now we're good.
So now can they talk about it freely now that the 101 days are up? I guess so,
I'm assuming if he told her, then my next question would be like, well, who the fuck did you tell?
Right, exactly.
Who's your best friend? Who you talking to? It's not that redhead down the street, is it?
Oh, yeah. Then you really got to fear the Rougarou, because maybe that was like a definition of how somebody acts when they find out who you really been talking to. That Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of thing.
Yeah. We need to go to some therapy and get some shit straightened out after this.
No doubt.
Yeah. But thank you so much for that. That was so good. I even like kind of forgot that I wrote that. I mean, that I had like looked at that story before. I didn't write it because I didn't write it like you, but I looked at that story before. But as soon as I didn't even know where you were going until you said her name, and I'm like, I know that name.
Oh, I totally missed covering that. But like, did you know she has like 3 different names? Like, people call her Julia Brown, that's the name that I went by in the story. But other people call her Julie White or Julie or Julia Black. Like, they get her name wrong. Like, there's a ton of different stories all over the internet, and it's the same exact story that I just told you, but they get her. It's like all over the place with the name of Julia Brown. I don't know why.
I don't recall that. I know that I don't recall that. Yeah. I mean, I was trying to think back, like, when they were trying to confirm whether she was a real person or not or something. Yeah. But I think that was fairly easy. And her name really wasn't Brown was really in there and listed as a healer, like you said. So, no, I don't remember seeing, like, different names and stuff like that. I must have just kind of... I'm very fascinated by voodoo, and so I just kind of whipped up something that I thought not everybody's heard this story before. Yeah. And so, of course, it's so cool to see that you were drawn to the same story. Like, this is interesting, and everybody should hear it, which I believed. I didn't feel like mine was that great, so I'm like, well...
I was head over heels to tell this story. I was super excited.
I really felt like you needed to kind of add a little bit more to it, which you did with the Rougarou. And that's totally not where I would have went. But I'm so excited that you did, because I'm like, oh my God, I love these things. My mind kept going back to trying to connect it to like the very tiny experience that we would know about growing up in the Mid-South area or whatever, Memphis, Tennessee, with voodoo, and trying to draw in the story of Voodoo Village.
Voodoo Village.
Yeah, which is not a real village, or maybe it is. I don't fucking know, because I don't really want to go there.
Yeah.
Just real quick. People obviously in Memphis area would know what I'm talking about, I'm certain, but nobody else would, because it is nothing but a neighborhood. It's a neighborhood of people that have put some weird shit out in their yards, and that like deemed them the name Voodoo Village. And then also, if you drive through there, they're very standoffish and they don't want you coming down that street. It dead ends, from what I understand. So it's one of those streets, strangers shouldn't really be driving down. You live here, that's fine, but But just like how I said long time ago, I live in like a cove-ish area. So you're not driving in here unless you're lost or you live in this house. So being protective of like, who the fuck is that? You know, that may be all these people are doing, but they've gotten a reputation of being very impolite to people that don't belong there driving down the street. And because they have all these weird things in their yard, from artwork to, I don't know, actually like slaughtering their dinner. I'm not really sure what they're doing, but they've gotten a reputation of being like strange, and people want to witness that. And so they want to scare you off with guns.
Oh, yeah. It's not called Friendly Village. It's called Voodoo Village. So,
Which is not how we would identify with real voodoo and what you experienced down in New Orleans. But it's just what was kind of deemed in our area because of the weird things they have in their front yard or whatever. And I've never witnessed it myself because it's a spooky fucking place, and not spooky by like ghosts or mythical. No, spooky like you're going to get your ass killed.
Yeah, like something bad's going to happen to you.
Yeah, because there's videos that you can find on YouTube and stuff for people that have driven through there, and the residents of that neighborhood have come out with guns.
Yeah, it's terrifying to say the least. Like, I was just joking about terrifying with alligators. Those are terrifying. They're animals. They're monsters of a different world. They see you as food. So you drive through an area where other people just like you come out of the house with guns because you're just driving. That is also very terrifying because you've just become an intruder in an area which otherwise just looks like any other neighborhood that you could just drive through. It's horror movie stuff. It's not a good thing.
Yeah. People have these legends and stuff that your car will stall out at a certain point and stuff like that. So people go out there to try to do these things and experience these things. And I guess the neighbors have just fucking had it. And they don't like it, which that's not the proper way to behave, to come out with guns. But that's the difference, between New Orleans and Memphis, Tennessee, I guess. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, you're right.
Or Louisiana, I should say.
True. But so check us out on social media. I plan on putting up images of the Frenier Cemetery, but just keep in mind that it's all props marking the mass grave. It's not like a real cemetery because everyone was just, mass buried there. I won't have any pictures of the Rougarou, unfortunately. There are some artist renderings online. I suppose I could add, though I'm guessing since you're not supposed to make any eye contact with the beast, not many people are whipping out their cell phones to take selfies.
Holy shit. No, that definitely shouldn't happen. But we should get an artist rendering. So that should be safe. You looked at it and you're
Yes.
Are you a Rougarou?
I don't know. It hasn't. Is the full moon tonight? The full moon's tonight, isn't it? It was yesterday.
Last night.
So we've got like a waning moon. Is that what comes after the full moon?
I'm not really sure. I did talk to you last night, so I don't think that you were in form of a beast.
Oh, that's true. No, and that's 100% true. I've actually been looking at pictures for like over a week now, trying to figure out how am I gonna put this on Instagram. So it'll be an artist rendering or my own. Maybe I'll draw one.
Oh, would you please? That'd be good.
It's going to be a stick figure with like a dog head that I've like photoshopped on there. Clunk.
Well, I was going to say we'd put it on our Etsy shop, but whatever. Fine. If you're not going to put any effort into it.
You still can. I'll sign it. Artist Chris Duncan. Oh, man. But like I said, so visit us on social media at COTN_paranormal on the Instagram. COTN Paranormal on Twitter and Facebook, or you can just do it the old-fashioned way and email us a good old story of your own, creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com. So that's it. That's all I got.
I love it. Thank you. I couldn't ask for more. Happy birthday to you.
Aw, thank you. I do celebrate all month, so it's cool. Just like the Rougarou, 101 days for me.
Because you are an Rougarou, is what you're saying.
Or a voodoo priestess, whatever.
That would be really cool.
I'm working on it.
You were
the Rougarou part.
A voodoo priestess and I was a witch. And we were best friends, and it's like a comedy.
I could see that, having a huge splash on the Comedy Central.
That's about the only people that would pick it up. And we get paid $12 an episode.
God.
Anyways, thanks for listening to our hopefully somewhat funny podcast. And and thank you very much. And that's it.
Yeah, peace.
Goodbye.
Bye.